over here, I can mark out new number of imbalances, right? It's a very simple concept. You can, even search it over YouTube or something. So, but in the, and people have different name. It's called imbalance. It's called, fair value gap, the FVG. So, whatever you could call that. So that's the concept of imbalance and equilibrium. Yeah, FEG. So imbalance is a FEG. Imbalance, fair value gap, whatever you call that. If we get a revisit to the last candle with a wick, you don't consider it at an imbalance. Uh, like this is not an imbalance, right? Like you see this impulsive candle, right? But the price wicked this entire candle, right? This entire impulsive push was already revisited, right? So this is not an imbalance. Imbalance is something is a kind of a impulsive move on the market that never got revisited. So that's the imbalance. STMX looking good. Finally back in profits. Let's see what it gives us. See, when you look at STMX, these are the coins of type of coins you want to trade in such conditions. These are kind of the coins that really don't care about what ETH or ETH to BTC or BTC is doing, right? Look for smaller caps, look for shit coins, and just spend some time on them with slow risk rather than betting on major caps or major alts right now. What is the TP for STMX? Depends. I'll be taking some profits on a 3 to 4% move up we get my first TP, and then just let the rest run with stops break even. And when we look at the stocks, things look still bad, right? Because when we zoom out, we have seen this was this strong uptrend which stocks were in for quite a time. We finally broke down of the trend, and ever since we haven't seen any strength on the stocks whatsoever, despite it being on a good support area. We haven't seen you know anything of a strength on stocks. So, and my only place where I would flip back bullish on overall markets is when we reclaim back this trend and this quarterly open on the ES. Until then, I do expect stocks to keep going down and BTC to follow that in coming time, because even when we look at the dollar chart, even though we are at range highs and we are seeing some kind of lower time frame rejection, but I do believe, like, after a small retracement, it still ends up trending back up. So yeah, that's the plan. Can you please go over STMX CoinAnalyze why you entered? Yeah, I can go over the STMX chart, STMX CoinAnalyze setup. Let me load up my browser. Okay, so let me switch the screens. What is the probability of an imbalance being hit? Is it 100%, or price might leave it alone sometimes? There is no guarantee of the imbalance is getting filled, right? Like, gaps aren't supposed to fill all the times, right? People like to trade the, why did I forget its name? What's that gap on BTC called, which a lot of people trade? Why isn't it coming to my mind? Which, okay, let it, yeah, CME gap, my bad. So a lot of people believe that we left, like, let's suppose if we left a CME gap at 30K, the price would go there sooner or later. No, it isn't the case, right? Market doesn't move to fill in the gaps. It, if it does, it should just be a point of interest where you just observe the price action, and if the price reverses from those gaps, yeah, you have a good setup to trade, right? You cannot own, just enter a trade based on the thesis of price has to fill in the gap, right? Price doesn't have to fill the gap all the time. We always leave behind gaps when we are in a strong uptrend or any trend down. So, are you guys able to see my browser screen? Okay. So, the reason I entered the STMX setup was, you know this is, first of all, I don't know, but I just looked at the 4-hour chart, and this kind of structure we have had in past on, if I remember, OGN, and that was one of the coin that ended up running much higher. So first of all, this H4 chart was just something of an interest for me. Now the reason, and then I switched to looking at the momentum on this coin, and what I looked on was that while the price was trending up, we saw, I was seeing at a good open interest build up, right? Even if the price was rejecting, the open interest kept on piling up. We saw some spot bids coming up, we saw some decent volume. So that's like enough of a trigger for me to try a small risk scalp. Like, there are two ways I play momentum plays and I play shit coins, right? I have gone through them a lot of time in past streams. The recordings are also uploaded. One is, and that is like a higher probability, and that is kind of a setup where I would risk a lot compared to what I am risking right now. That is, like, you people should be knowing by now that price is in a constant uptrend, goes into consolidation phase. While it's in this consolidation phase, the open interest keeps on piling up, and then I look for lower time frame uptrend, I enter a breakout play, right? That is the higher probability play for me. But another setup that I look for these shit coins is that it's simply just chasing the green candle. Some shit coin is going up and it's accompanied by a good OI buildup and CVDs pointing up. I just try to play that shit coin for some decent move up, right? So that was pretty much the trigger I had. You look at OBV and RSI. I don't look at the on balance volume line, but I do look at the RSI. Not all the times. It's just to give me an idea on where we are on a coin. Like, only the high time frame RSIs, right? If I am playing the three drive top kind of a thing on a coin, or a three drive bottom something, so I'm just look at RSI if that's giving a good confluence along with the three drive pattern, right? Or if I am want to gauge the high time frame chart on BTC and ETH, I just like to see where the RSI is on 4-hour or 12-hour, whether it's below 50 or whether it's above 50. That's all I like to look at. So STMX looking good. Now let's switch back to the trading view. Gal, even if it goes to fell in the last week we had, it's still a decent 5 to 6% move. So overall looks good risk return wise. Let's see what we get. And STMX looks good as well. So yeah, these are the only upside exposures. Even those are like very small risk. The, like, STMX for me was around like a 0.4 hour trade. So nothing big on anything. Gal is just a spot position. Apart from that, I'm still being patient on any upside exposure. If we are to leave these lows, we have our plan in place. We have this 4-hour imbalance, and if we tap the equilibrium and I see some good rejection, I am adding to my shorts no matter what. Stocks, despite being on important daily support, there is like no bids on it whatsoever. So I was expecting some kind of a bounce around US Open today, but overall looks pretty weak. Illusion think if 0.729 gets reclaimed, then the target is 84. I don't like to mark the targets on these momentum plays. They can go as long as they want, or they can reverse whenever they want. So I just closely observe the momentum and just play it while I can. Wanna check SSV quick? Okay, we can have a look on SSV. I was a bit disappointed today because I missed this play. This was a simple, we had this range on ARK ever since the listing, and it reclaimed the range back and gave a 10 to 15% move up. Like I was observing it over here yesterday, but just thought of letting it go and ended up pushing 15% up. So yeah, someone said SSV. I haven't traded this coin ever so far, so could be interesting. So when you look at the daily chart, the important two levels I get are these two. So we failed to get acceptance above here, got rejection. So the only place I would be interested on betting it would be around here. This could be a really nice area to watch for the reaction, and if you get some good lower time frame reversal around this area, you could scale into some long and target back this kind of a range. I think we would be in, which is around like a 10% move. If not, then just wait for it to flip this area at 17.1. So the only two things you could wait on SSV is either a flip of 17.1 or a retest of 15.2. Anything in between, there isn't any good trigger I could look for to enter a play right now. So I would just wait for either of the two scenarios. Bro, daily learning a lot from you. Where can I find your old streams like a week older? I think uh, there are recorded streams in the video section of the Discord. You can find few of my recorded streams there. I don't think anything before that has been recorded, but I do stream like almost every day, or if not like one day another. So you'll get to see me and hear me a lot, so don't worry. How do you set your stop loss to avoid getting stop loss hunt? Setting a stop loss, to be honest, is one of the trickiest part of trading. And for me, I don't, there are two types of mindset. There are people who prefer to have a higher RR on a trade and, and a tighter stop loss. But to me, I'll rather prefer to have a lower risk to return, and have a kind of a stop loss that I don't get hunted on, right? And usually those are kind of a levels where I believe the price, if my plan is to play out, like for example when I took a shot on BTC, you know I entered over here, right? I could have just placed the stop loss right above the high, right? But I don't like to place my stop losses above obvious areas, right? The price could have very well just gone above, take out these highs, and rolled back down. So I don't like to place my stop losses above obvious areas. So what I did was I switched to a bit of lower time frame. I switched to a hourly chart. And why isn't my trading view responding? So, you know, not even 1 hour, we can switch to even 30 minutes. So, I switched to this chart. I saw that this is kind of a range we are in. This was the lower time frame range we were in, kind of, right? So if I am entering a BTC short over here, if I am entering over here, a lot of people would just think of placing the stops right above the previous highs, right? I don't like to do that. Like, doing that, if I did that in this play, I would have gotten a much higher risk to return, right? Like, we TP'd our play over here, it would have given us almost, a 2.5 hour play, right? But I instead placed my stops above the range highs, which gave me like a 1.5 hour, right? But I would prefer having a lower risk to return rather than, like, you have to get a good balance between the probability of winning and having a higher risk to return. Those things can't move together, right? If you go for higher risk to return, the probability of you winning reduces, right? So you have to find the right balance between the two things, your winning percentage and your risk to return. So I prefer improving my winning rate over having a better risk to return. So, I placed my stop loss above the previous range highs instead of placing it at the obvious place of, just the previous highs. And a lot of times, when I'm playing alts, you'll see I go with a very wide invalidation. Like, you see people going with a 1 2 3% stop loss. I prefer to go with a wider 5 to 6% stop loss play, because that gives me a room to just observe price action and let my setup play out, right? Because if I go with a tighter 2 to 3% stop loss, like for example, uh, on STMX, right? If STMX after entering gave almost what, 3% move down, right? If I had gone with the lower, tighter stop loss, we would have already been out of the play, and we would have gotten stop hunted, right? I rather went for a 5% stop loss. I did not, you know, you could see people placing stop loss right below the previous lows, right? People would have placed the stop loss over here. You see the price just wicks below the previous lows and ends up going back up, right? You don't need to place your stop losses at obvious areas. I really don't like placing my stop losses below the last lows or above the last highs, right? Those are kind of obvious places that you would definitely get stop hunted, right? So I just like to give my place some room. I placed my stop loss below this kind of a SR level on lower time frame we had. So I placed it around 622. So even if price goes down and we are bullish, we just retest this SR and trend up back up, right? We shouldn't be going below this SR level. So that's the reason I placed my stop loss over here. But that might seem a bit confusing, but eventually when you keep looking at charts, you get an idea of how to place your stop losses. So what else do we have to discuss other than chart requests? Like, I want these US open streams to be quick streams. So don't just come up with alts request of random alt request. If you have anything else to discuss, feel free to tag. ES giving some bounce from this daily support. BTC still looks shit. So, just be patient for now. Like, you need to gauge the price action, right? I don't know how anyone here could find this as a